Welcome to the presentation about the future of UX, embracing AI in design. My name is Helena. This is the worst part where I have to actually introduce myself. So I'm in generally a product designer. I'm also a design consultant. That's my current role, where I have my own company and I work as a design consultant with mostly startups. And startups mostly in the fintech, education, or mental health industries, because that's something I'm passionate about. So my advice is always to find an industry that works with what you resonate with, and then start with that. I'm also a mentor at Designlab for 4 years already, and I'm also a speaker at events like this, because I just love sharing about things. And why did I choose this topic? Because I like to experiment. I really like testing things. And I just spend a lot of time trying to optimize how I do things in order to be faster. And then, as you know it, the optimization takes more time than you would use if I actually sat down and just did something. But I learn a lot, and then I get to share with people what I learned. So it's a win-win situation. My hobbies in my free time, what I do is I have a podcast. I like to read a lot. Currently, or not currently, but we'll get to the currently. Usually I try to balance 2 workbooks and 1 fun book, because if I read only 2 workbooks, then I don't get in a good mental state. And then I try to force myself to read 1 fun book. And the book that I'm currently reading is about the lives of the women that Jack the Ripper killed. And it doesn't sound like fun, but it talks a lot about historical London. So it's educational, not entirely fun, but it's not even a light read. It's a good book. So far I'm liking it. I also like to learn languages. I like to meditate, and I like to play games. And that is all about me. Now we can get to the actually good stuff. Okay. So what we're going to go through today is a short introduction about AI in general, then some tools that are used with AI, and then a case study, then some skills you can build. Then we're going to do a conclusion and some Q&A. The way I formatted this presentation is to showcase the tools that I use, and to tell you practically how I use them and what I do with those tools. So it's going to be a lot of this is a tool, and then how I use it. I, of course, didn't have enough time to, I'm going to finish the sentence, but I, of course, did not put all of the tools that are possible. I just put the ones that I use and the ones that I find are very, very helpful. So there are a lot of things that you can use, but some things, I have a point with that too, and we'll get to it. So let's just dig in. Fun thing or not so fun thing. So I started doing the research, and I did a lot of talking to AI and a lot of talking to humans, human designers, to check out how people use AI. And then I didn't even ask Bing about anything remotely. Is AI going to replace humans? At most, I asked Bing, how do product designers use AI in their day-to-day life, or how to automate, which tasks could a product designer automate using AI? And then this was the last sentence. Remember, AI isn't replacing human designers. It's assisting them by enhancing efficiency and optimization. So talented human designers are still very much in demand. And then a couple of funny smileys. And my first reaction was, I did not ask you that. This was unsolicited. And then my second reaction was, why is this here? And why did somebody train you to say this? So obviously, designers are worried about being replaced. This is bitter fun. I just found it hilarious, because it's just, why is this mentioned? And then when you start digging in deeper, it goes deep. But we are here to learn how to utilize AI and not how to be afraid of it. So moving on, this presentation is not about how to use AI in general. So I do hope you have some knowledge about things that you can use AI for. But even if you don't, you're going to see how I use it and you're going to learn about some tools, and then you can apply that yourself. So general AI uses are content creation, where you can write, or AI can assist you in writing long and short form documents or anything. I think I need to mute myself for a moment. Okay, better. This is kind of hilarious because I do have coughing. I just did not get to it just yet. I should have typed this better. So next up is assistance with UX writing. For example, sometimes I talk to, also a side note, I'm just going to say AI for everything. I'm not going to make a difference between LLMs and AI assistants or anything else. I'm just going to say AI for everything because I do know the difference, but also it's easier to talk like this. Just a disclaimer. So sometimes I talk to AI and I say, I'm a product designer that's working on a product that is for wealth management, and I need to write a sentence that's going to explain how users can use a certain feature of the product. The sentence needs to be short, in a friendly tone, and it needs to be using easy English because it's going to be used by international users. So that would be my prompt, and then I would get like 10 responses from the AI, and then I would go through those responses, pick something that works for me, or maybe combine a couple of them and then move on. Next up, so that was a use case for assistance with UX writing. Next up is personalized content like cover letters, bios, speeches. I did use AI to generate quite a few things about this, but not the presentation. But everything that needs to be formal is I used AI definitely to help me with that. For example, I shared the event on LinkedIn today, and I used AI to help me write up a summary of something that sounds professional, because I can't be bothered sounding professional, and then it takes me too much time, and then it's just much easier to use something like this to have generated. So writing, with coding, with help with translation. So if you have something, but my whole point throughout the whole presentation, I'm going to keep saying, but you need to be careful. You need to be careful. So help with translation. For example, I'm working on a finance app that is going to be used in different types of countries, different countries. And I'm going to just use the AI to help me translate something, put it in, take it out, paste it, and that's it. I'm done. I do not trust it. Like, I would need to personally check it 4 times and just recheck if everything is correct. The whole time you need to check, you need to check, you need to check. Constantly, you need to check if things are correct. Next up is conducting research, but I would also again advise rechecking and checking multiple sources, because it is a tool, it does help you, but you need to be careful. I feel like I'm preachy, but let us move on this. What I did for this presentation, which you're going to see in the case study, is I talked to a couple of product designers. I asked them how they use AI. I also used my own personal experiences. I did some research. I talked to different AIs. I read articles. So these are the most common industry trends that you can see in product design. AI is used for inspiration and ideation. So for example, if I'm working on a passion project for myself, I have no clue where I would start. So I would talk to AI. I would say, I really like taking walks next to streams, and then help me figure out how to make that into a digital product. And then I would converse with the AI. I would get some good advice. I would take that further. It's good for user research and data analysis, but maybe not in the way that you expect it to be. I'm going to touch up on this. Help with synthesis. You put in a lot of data into the AI and you say, can you help me figure out what is the most common thing with this data? And then you move on. Then creating design deliverables. I have good examples of this and I'm going to show them to you. And speeding up the work process. Again, I have good examples. I'm going to show them to you. That's it for the industry trends. And now we can move into the tools that I use. For reference, if you find something and you cannot remember where it was, you can always refer to the number and the definition. So the number and the letter of the page that we're on. The tools that I'm going to cover are Notion AI, FigJam, Otter, Perplexity, ChatGPT, Claude, Typeform plus Airtable, and Midjourney and Bing. So without further ado, I'm just going to say I use Notion quite a bit for everything. I use Notion to organize my life, to organize my work. If you do not use Notion just yet, a huge advice to try it. If not Notion, there are alternatives, but it's difficult to describe what Notion is. Notion is an everything app where you can do anything you can imagine, but that is good because you can do anything you can imagine. That is bad because you need to be able to imagine what you can do. So sometimes you get stuck on imagining what you can do with it. Notion has a built-in AI in itself. There are some limitations to it. For example, it works only on one page. So if you're trying to reference some data, you need to have it all on one page. It's good, it's bad. You learn how to work with it, and this is how I use it. I use it for brainstorming. So I usually create a new task, create a new page, input some information, and then just talk to the AI. I prefer this to just sometimes I prefer this to ChatGPT because it keeps me in one area. It keeps me more focused, and it contextually keeps remembering what we talked about. So I can just go back in 2 weeks and talk about the same thing that I talked about before, and it's going to just continue working like that. Next up is ideation. Again, the same thing. I often do brain dumps. So I just go in, type in everything, and then I say, can you turn all of this into actionable tasks? And then it creates tasks. The tasks are a to-do list. I love my to-do lists, and then it's much easier to handle that information. It helps with summaries. So again, if you have a large amount of information, it helps with creating a summary of that. It helps with affinity mapping, which doesn't always have to be in a visual form. And I prefer even the affinity mapping in a textual form. And Notion does this really, really well. And then based on that affinity mapping, based on the information that you put in it, it also helps with persona creation. So Notion, as you might notice by this ever so cute illustration, I really, really love Notion. And now I'm going to stop talking about it until a few more slides. So what I wanted to show with this was an example of how I would, basically the thing that I told you. So example of how I would use Notion. I know this is difficult to see, but it's almost not the point. So bear with me. Okay, so the task here is doing an interview on Zoom, taking that information with a digital transcriber, putting it into Notion, and then using it for further stuff. So I would first start the conversation on Zoom. Not even I see this. I would record the interview using Otter. Then I would check the transcripts. If the transcripts are fine, yes, moving on. Import everything into Notion. I mean, actually, there's also a no. Then I would go back in manually and redo the text, import the file into Notion, create a summary, and then what does this even say? Perform affinity mapping. Are there any common pain points or opportunities? No. And then identify pain points and opportunities, and then create persona. So what you might notice here is that I only have a no option, and I only have a no option because I did not make this. Sneak peek, FigJam made this for me. What I did was I went into FigJam and I explained verbally as a prompt what I did with my process. And then I said, please create a flowchart for me. And this is what I got. So is this perfect? It's definitely not perfect, but it's a really, really good starting point. So I would do this and then I would go back in and tweak. Definitely a good use case for FigJam. So again, FigJam is a part of Figma. You go in, create a new FigJam, and then you can use the AI. It's great for quick template generation, just like I showed you. Focused brainstorming. I like going into FigJam and just creating a huge workshop for myself and then working like that, thinking through it, having prompts. And before I would have to create that myself, it looked not great. I do have to say it would look not great because I would then spend too much time creating it. I would spend too much time figuring out what I want to do with it instead of just doing the thing. So it's great because I say create a workshop for this and this problem, and it creates something like this where you can just go in and fill in the data. It's great. I really, really enjoy this. But also, again, there is a but. You need to be critical. So while I was creating this presentation, I created this flowchart, and I basically already said what my issue was, what I was dealing with. And then I created this. So I continued building on my prompt, and then I got this. So this was supposed to be an affinity mapping, but it turned out to be some sort of a not a presentation, a workshop, which is not really great. As I continued working in the same file and with the same prompt, but I wanted different things, the AI started hallucinating. I hope you're familiar with the phrasing, but if you're not, it started giving me weird data. So I can't remember because I can't remember, but what it did was it started creating completely different information than what I was asking it for. And it started giving me feedback and giving me data that was very, very sure of itself, but it was completely not connected to what I was doing. So again, you need to be critical. You need to constantly check what you're doing, what the AI is doing, and don't just create something, say, this is great, I'm not even going to look at it, and move on. When you create something, go in, check it out, and then continue with your life. So just keep checking. It's a good thing. Anyways, moving on. Next thing, I mentioned this as something that I used in my flowchart. So Otter is a transcription service that joins your online calls. What it does is it picks up the transcriptions and gives you a really, really good file, which then you can use for different things. So how I use it, I join a call and then I explain to people, and Otter will be joining our call. Everybody's usually very confused and like, an otter? And then literally it's called Otter, and it joins. I get the transcription. I pick it up. I check it out if everything went well. So mostly people names and things like that. Then I put it into Notion and then I work with it. So that's another great tool. Another great tool, which I use actually quite a lot. So it's called Perplexity. What is it? It's an AI assistant. It has access to current data. It links resources, which is amazing for because if something tells you, yeah, this presentation is great, I'm going to agree with that. But if something tells you this presentation is great, and these are the people that said it, and these are the articles that support it, I'm going to agree with it even more. So this is what it looks like when you have the sources in Perplexity. You can even see my prompt. My prompt was, can you find some articles which talk about how product designers use AI tools in their process? And then it gave me 5 articles, and it also gave me a short summary in which things were connected to the sources where I pulled it from. This is great because you get to ask things and then you critically get to go in and recheck the information that you got. It's not ideal for some tasks, so I did struggle with brainstorming and just general chatting with it about things. It tends to give shorter answers and it tends to go in circles. But it's good. It's still great. I know that some people around me in my life have literally started using Perplexity instead of Google because Google has too many ads and then it's not that good. But with Perplexity, you get the information. It's the Google as it was before. So maybe that's a good thing. Just check it out. This one I definitely recommend because it's easy to use. Maybe a bad thing about it is on the phone. So the mobile app, I'm not even sure if this applies to Android, but on the iPhone, if you use a VPN, it doesn't work. So every time I want to use Perplexity on my phone, I have to turn off my VPN and then ask it a question. And then when it stops, when the VPN goes back on, I just need to do it again. So that is hindering my usage of Perplexity, but on the computer in the browser, it works great. It's good for UX writing, so it definitely helps with generating ideation of how to create some good UX writing, and it's good for general research, which I already mentioned. Moving on to ChatGPT, which I'm fairly certain everybody already heard about. So what it is an AI assistant. The issue with ChatGPT versus Perplexity is that there's a data cutoff where it was trained. And I asked it yesterday to make sure that this presentation is up to date. The data cutoff is January 2022. So you cannot get current data with this. And that's bad, but it's also good for other things. So you can say what is the current competition for, I don't know, neobanks on the European market, because it's not going to know what the current competition is. It's going to know up until January 2022. It's really, really good for brainstorming and ideation and some small and repetitive tasks. So I also work at a university, and then my students don't really do well with citing their sources. And then I just take all of their sources. I say, can you please move this into APA type of citation? And then it gives me just a list. And while I'm talking, I remembered something. At one point, I think I was talking to it. I wasn't sure which was the correct type of citation. And then I said, do number 1, do number 2, do number 3. And then it did, every time it gave me the full list of like 10 sources, and it was good, it was good, it was good. And then on the 5th try, it gave me the list of 3 sources. And then the 4th source was just continue creating this in this style. So basically it gave up on me and said, just do it like this, just do it like this. I'm not going to do it anymore. So I found that funny because even ChatGPT got lazy. Another thing ChatGPT is good for is generation of mock-up data. So when you're working on a product design, don't use lorem ipsum because you don't have to. We have so many tools that are going to help your product feel more real, and just use this. So if you're working on a website for skincare and that's a project that you're working on, and you can say, can you give me 5 names for a skincare product? And then it's going to generate something. Make sure that it makes sense, so that it's not like a goo for your feet, but I don't know, maybe a goo for your feet could be a good one. So I don't see why not use that. But the idea is just use any AI that can help you generate that data, and usernames, any numbers that you need. Don't use generic numbers. So if you're working on a table that has some information that's numbers, don't repeat the numbers. Just give your designs more life and use mockup data to do that. It's easy, and it takes you maybe 3% more effort, but it's going to pay off in the long run. I also wanted to say, ChatGPT has a couple of versions. So we have ChatGPT 3.5, which is free, and GPT-4, which is paid, but it has more things you can do with it. So you can generate images, you can upload images, and then search information with visual data. Test it out. I personally do not pay for ChatGPT because I pay for Notion AI, and then that's my main use. Moving on to the next one is Claude. I personally do not use Claude because it's not available in most of EU countries, because Europe has, I would say, stricter laws about personal information and data. And then Anthropic, the company that created Claude, they basically don't want to deal with that. And it was available at one point in some countries, some selected countries, but it's not available right now. So if you're in the States, you can try to use it, because I only heard good things about it. And I think it's really good security-wise. And this is an illustration of Europeans waiting for Claude to launch. Moving on, we have Typeform and Airtable. And this is, again, something that I do not use myself because I have Notion, and then I just don't need to use Airtable. So Typeform is, I could have said you could use Google Forms, but I preferred to say Typeform. It just crossed my mind that I could have used a different use case, but Typeform is something that you can create forms with and get user research data. So how you can use Airtable and Typeform together: you can create a form with Typeform, get the data, input it into Airtable, and then they have a lot of tools that you can use to synthesize your data and just give you specific feedback you don't have to then search for yourself. And last but not least on the list of the tools that I'm going to mention, this whole presentation is more focused on UX, so on the research and definition and everything. But I feel like I do need to mention Midjourney and Bing, because Bing was the perfect quote at the beginning of this, and Midjourney is just very popular. So how to use them and what they are: they generate images using prompts. And what I do is I often use other tools to help me figure out a good prompt for one of these tools. Why that? Because my logic is, it's a robot. Maybe robots know how to speak together, or maybe they know how to speak to each other better than I do. And generally, I don't spend that much time creating visuals, so it's just easier for me to go in and tell ChatGPT. I would use ChatGPT for this. I need an image that's going to be this and this. Can you please create the prompt for Midjourney? And then what you get is this. So on the left side, is Midjourney. On the right side is Bing. Bing has an image creator which is built in, and it works really well. It really does work well. As for Midjourney, the downside is that it's in Discord, and you need to use Discord to use Midjourney. There were some talks about it going outside of Discord and having its own program, its own thing, but that didn't help happen yet. And I hope it does happen because it's it's a good thing. And sometimes using Discord is not the most enjoyable thing. Anyway, so with Midjourney, I used ChatGPT to help me create the prompt, and with Bing, I used my own prompt in my own words, which are just like my thoughts going out and defining the prompt. So both prompts are supposed to show the same concept, and the concept is an application for reading books and tracking how you read those books. For the Bing, for the right one, I said, can you create a person holding an iPhone and showcasing the app? But also, you can see how weird things get, especially with human hands again. It's a constant thing with AI still. It's gonna get better very soon, alarmingly soon, but still now you can see that things are not really good with human hands, as you can see here as well. So actually a small digression. I have another link here that says that has more AI tools that are for creating art, creating visuals. And here you have a QR code that you can probably hopefully scan to get to the article. So I don't have to link it anywhere. Anyways, I'm going to go back into Midjourney. So Midjourney is inside of Discord, and the way you use it is you say, imagine this and that, and then you get some prompts, and those prompts you can use. You get 4 images, and then you can upscale one of those 4 images. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Or you can version these images. For example, I really like this one, and then I'm going to say create more versions in this style. And that's basically how Midjourney works. Moving on to our case study. Now that I've covered all of the tools, you have some understanding of what my approach is. And in this case study, I'm going to show you my process, how I would, of course, this is very, very scaled down to how I would actually use it, but I wanted to create something new and have some fun in the meantime and actually do something that's specifically for this presentation. So what I did was I went onto the social media network called Posts. I'm not even sure how to say social media network. It's called Posts. It's like Twitter, but it's more friendly and it's more specific to designers. So I know that that's a place where I can find a lot of senior designers. And I went to look for people who have been posting their own work, because that means that they're doing something. And then I just talked to them a bit about their AI usage. After I talked to those 7 people, I talked to more people, but the 7 people gave me information I could use, and they actually replied to me. So that's a good thing. After that, I manually typed in the results into my Notion file, which means I said participant number 1 is this and this person. Actually, no, I didn't. So participant number 1 is a product designer with this much years of experience. What they said to my question was blah, blah, blah. What they said to my question was blah, blah, blah. And then I did that for all of 7 my participants. And that was it from my input. I then talked to Notion AI, and I used prompts to help me ideate and to help me work with my information. What I got was, first I asked for an affinity mapping, and it went in. This still feels like magic. So it just starts writing something in front of me and create the data, and I'm like, yes, I noticed that, but now it's written in front of me and I did not have to write this. This is perfect. So I'm super happy about the way Notion handles this, but of course there are limitations. It works well enough. So I would definitely be happy with this because I got the topics and I got the information who of those users, participants, said what. So what is the grouping, and also what is the information that supports that grouping. With these groups, this is really, really good. And also, one thing that I noted was that some participants were okay, so it was also noted that some participants exhibited defensive behavior when asked about their usage of AI. What I actually wrote was some participants got defensive when I started questioning them because they thought that I was accusing them that their work was AI generated. And this sentence is much more professional than what I just said. And I'm also happy about that because then I don't have to worry how to effectively convey this information to some of my higher ups or the people that I'm working with and have it sound like not street talk. I hope you get my point. So this information that I got was prompted by one prompt, and then I got this whole thing. Moving on after that was I put in, I copied all of this, went into Figma and said, can you please create an affinity mapping, I should have said affinity map, with post-its and format this information card sorted. So what I wanted was a card sorting, give me the topics that I got, and then just put it into post-its. And this is what got generated. Also, it got lazy and just told me participant 1, participant 2. Participants 3 to 7 apparently don't matter to FigJam, so not ideal. Was I happy with this? I definitely was not, but I would either waste my time in trying to prompt it again. This was actually my second prompt. The first one wasn't good either. So I would give up on this and just take this and then adjust it manually into what I need from it. Again, it's a good start. It's a good starting point, but it's not exactly what I needed. So it gave me a boost. It didn't give me the correct solution that I was looking for. Give and take, give and take. I was not happy with this one. Moving on, I wanted to define some pain points and opportunities. And I was super excited about this because, again, it's very well formed and it gives me good ideas about what could be my next steps. So I could explore more, or I could say, maybe I didn't interview enough people. What if I need to talk to more people? And then what I could have done was gone into the danger zone. So this is an example of a prompt. I would say, can you generate 6 more user replies in the same formatting and vary them in skill and experience? Make some confident in AI usage and have it vary because you don't want everyone to be super confident, while others are novices that don't use AI at all. So I actually did create this and it gave me, like, if I was not me, if I presented this to someone and just showed them the information, they could not tell the difference between what was my actual data and what was the data that got AI generated, because it's just that good. And please do not use this. Please don't use this for your work because it's not actual data. So just because you can doesn't mean you should. And then you're not going to have the accurate information, and it's not going to be, like, you cannot control if your users are going to like something or if something is going to be accessible and good for your users if the users do not exist. So AIs are well trained, but you should not do this. So what I did instead was I asked, can you please expand more on AI education and training? Because that was one of the points for one of the opportunities, and help me figure out how to explore this area more. Another thing you can see here, which I did not mention, is my Grammarly, which just makes sure I'm constantly writing the best that I can. It also has built-in AI, and it definitely helps me sound better than I do when I speak. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna take that. So of course I went with the better option, and I continued ideating with the AI, and this is what I got. So it expanded on AI education and training and gave me some good ideas. What I would do next is I would take the information I got and turn it into a presentation for you. So we went a bit Inception, and I used this example to show you what you can do and how you can use the tools just to help you out. After that, I could deep dive into the opportunities and ideate some more solutions. So I could say, tool specific training, can you help me figure out which tools are currently the most popular? So I wouldn't do that here. I would go to Perplexity, and then I would talk to Perplexity to help me do more research. And then I would copy that research, paste it into my Notion file to feed the file with more data. And then it's going to just give me better information. Or I could further my research and expand it with real participants. I'm emphasizing the word real because, again, you need to create your products for users, and the users need to be actual real people. Okay, now that we went through everything, so we went through what tools are there, we went through a case study of how to use those tools, and now what skills you need to actually use those tools. So my main skill that I would love for you to use, again, QR code here if you want to read the link, critical thinking. So question everything. If an AI tells you something, sure, but make sure it's true. So just look it up on a couple of other places and confirm the information, just so you know that it's true. You don't want to create something and then have somebody 2 months later tell you this thing that you created, it doesn't make sense because it's not true, like it's a lie, and then you're just going to be embarrassed and it's not going to be nice. So AI is susceptible to hallucinations. Like I mentioned, it just started giving me different types of products that it thought was good. I mean, it is good, but it's not what I'm doing. It's not what I'm thinking about. So again, recheck. Inside of this article, there's also about detecting bias and manipulation and making informed decisions and upholding ethical values and a couple of others, but these I pulled out as the most important ones. So make informed decisions, check a couple of places, use this as a starting point, and then, yeah, sure, this sounds okay, but I'm just going to check again. It's just a good approach. So definitely critical thinking is my number one skill that you need to work with AI. Other than that, you can dive into AI and just become a prompt engineer, which is a fully valid position. You can work with AI strategy, which tells you how to actually work with AI. And again, much better explained in this article that you have the QR code here. How to interact with AI and how to design AI models, which needs to be designed. Everything needs to be designed. Other skills to build are frameworks for ChatGPT. I just screenshotted this from LinkedIn, and it was a while ago, so I cannot say who made this, but it's a good resource. If you train your algorithms on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on TikTok, probably. I don't use TikTok, so I said probably. on Pinterest, then you might get this data and this information for everything. Like if you tweak your algorithms, you're going to get this type of information. So I definitely do get this type of information, and it's something that I read and then I'm smarter. So I wouldn't say that I use any of these specifically, but I read how to approach prompting, and then it just stays in my mind and I'm better at it as I go. So I definitely do suggest working with frameworks for prompts. And to finish this up, there is a good interview with this guy. His name is David Huang, and it's on Figma. The link is here. The quote is quite lengthy, so I didn't want to emphasize everything. Basically, what it says is that being a designer right now is scary, and that AI feels scary. But he also says, I encourage people to consider that design may not be literally what we're doing today. Design will shift and evolve, and we should approach it with an open mind. So right now, the design world has shifted. When I started working, it was something completely different than to what it is right now. And it's always going to change. It's always going to be different. And you just need to use the tools that you have right now and adapt. So don't stay stuck in, this is how it's always been done, I should do it like this. Keep growing and keep learning more. And design will evolve, but there's always going to be a need for people. Before I close this off, I have a couple of bonuses that I wanted to mention but didn't know where to put in. So my main fact, or my main thing, is that I often feel overwhelmed by everything, and it's just so many information that I keep working, and then I don't have the time to be in the loop with new things. And that's why I need the AI tools and everything else to help me stay in the loop, so I don't feel overwhelmed, so I don't feel left out. There's something that's called Reader. It's by Readwise, and what it does is it's a tool for read later, but I don't entirely use it for that. They have also a built-in summarization. So what I did was I subscribed to a couple of newsletters, and then I get in my inbox on a daily basis the summary of the newsletters that I subscribed to. And then if I want to read more, I go into the Reader and I read about the thing. I enjoy this because it feels like I get the important information, but I don't have to waste too much time reading it, actually. Another thing that it does not fit anywhere is Product Hunt. On Product Hunt, you can check different products that are being launched today, and then it helps you stay in the loop about current trends in design, how people are presenting their projects and products, and it's just a really, really good thing. Another honorable mention, is my illustrations I used throughout the presentations are from Icons 8 in the Mochi style, and photos, which I did not use, but I plan to use, but I did not, are not from Lumi.ai, which is a gallery of really good AI generated images that's free to use. So I did not use any photos, but if I did, I probably would have used them from Lumi AI. And that brings us to the conclusion. So my conclusion is AI is a tool. You should use it. Learn how to use it and test things, try out new things. Junior designers have a benefit by entering the design realm as it is right now, where you need to adapt to new things, you need to learn about new tools, and it's just something that you are growing up with, for a lack of a better word, but it's something that you're used to. Seniors don't necessarily have that. Seniors like doing everything the way they always did it, and it's just so difficult to learn about new things because why would I? I have too many years. I don't really want to do that. I have a life. I don't want to do that. But the seniors have a benefit too. As a senior designer, you probably have more experience and it's easier to figure out when an AI is hallucinating or giving you bad. So it's just more easy to figure out when the produced thing is not great. And that's my conclusion. I know I took it a long time. If I want you to take anything away from this is stay critical and stay curious. Test new things, but also doubt everything the thing tells you. And we have a Q&A and we have a thank you because I'm pretty sure the thank you is not going to be shown because you all want to see my beautiful cats. Okay, so this was me talking a lot, and now I would like to hear from you. Do you have any questions? Is there anything that I did not cover? Questions. No questions. Questions? No questions. Okay, that's a good question. Thanks everyone for coming. It was fun to talk about these things. It was very fun to. I hope you learned something. And just because I gave you my use cases doesn't mean that you have to use them that way. You can just check out the tools and see how you can use them better, because probably there are so many things that I do not that I did not use or that I did not mention, but there are better ways to use them. Awesome. Thanks everyone for coming again.